Have you ever observed how some individuals seem to influence everything around them without even raising their voice? They don't argue, beg, or plead. They simply step back, and suddenly, everything around them shifts. The energy changes. People become uneasy, curious, even desperate. Now imagine if you did the same. What if you chose stillness over reaction? Space over conflict? What would change in your life? Here's the truth: when you stop being constantly available, emotionally, mentally, physically, the people around you start to unravel. They're used to managing you through your reactions, your patterns, your need to respond. But the moment you withdraw, the entire dynamic shifts. They no longer understand you. And perhaps, they never truly did. Carl Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." Think about who gets frustrated when you become unavailable. Who tries to provoke you just to get an emotional response. That tells you more about them than it does about you. It also reveals how deeply you've been controlled without realizing it. We often give so much of ourselves, to maintain peace, to feel accepted, to keep people close. But every automatic yes, every rushed response, every emotional reaction costs you a piece of your energy. And eventually, you're left with exhaustion, confusion, and a hollow feeling you can't quite name. This isn't about turning your back on the world. It's about turning toward yourself. Jung described a journey called individuation, the path to becoming whole and authentic. And that path begins with understanding that silence is not weakness. Silence is strength. When it comes from clarity, not avoidance, it's a powerful stance. So ask yourself, how much longer will you let others dictate your emotional state? How often do you react to protect a wound you haven't healed? Maybe it's time to step away, to stop being so readable. Because when you're no longer predictable, everything changes. From a young age, many of us are taught that our value lies in our availability, in our willingness to please, to respond quickly, to always say yes. But here's something you might not have heard before: being constantly available isn't kindness, it's captivity. When you're always reachable, people stop valuing your presence. They begin to see you not as a person, but as a solution, a convenience, a comfort they can summon at will. You become the emotional emergency line, there when needed, ignored otherwise. This dynamic runs deep. Jung spoke of the persona, the mask we wear to be accepted. It's this very mask that compels us to stay accessible, to over-explain, to apologize for setting boundaries. But the more you center others, the more you disappear from your own life. Being endlessly available is often a hidden form of self-abandonment. It's a way of seeking approval, fearing rejection, trying to shape how others perceive you. But the cost is enormous: your peace, your energy, your identity. Those who expect your constant availability don't truly want you. They want the validation, comfort, or attention you provide. When you stop giving it, they get angry, not because you did something wrong, but because you stopped serving their need. And here's the brutal truth: the more accessible you are, the less you're respected. What's always around becomes invisible. What's easy to get is easy to discard. So ask yourself, who actually deserves your energy, your attention, your time? More importantly, who deserves your absence? But before you answer that, let's ask another question: why do we react so quickly in the first place? Why do we feel compelled to explain, to respond, to please? The answer lies in something Jung called psychic energy, the inner force that drives your thoughts, feelings, and actions. Every unnecessary reaction drains this energy. Defending yourself from pointless criticism? That's energy lost. Arguing just to be right? More energy gone. Trying to please those who don't appreciate you? You're pouring your power into a void. And the more you resist something, the more it persists. That's a Jungian principle. The more you react, the more entangled you become. The emotionally exhausted aren't weak. They're misdirected. And misdirected energy leads to vulnerability. Vulnerability attracts manipulation. Jung believed a healthy psyche conserves energy. It doesn't rush to defend. It doesn't react impulsively. It chooses its moments. This kind of mastery begins with understanding yourself, your impulses, your triggers, your needs. Think about how many sleepless nights you've had over words unspoken, people misunderstood, or relationships unresolved. That's not closure, that's energy leakage. You're feeding dynamics that should have ended long ago. Well-managed energy becomes presence. Poorly managed energy becomes invisibility. So begin with observation. What sparks your automatic reactions? These are the leaks. These are the openings manipulators exploit. Because manipulation rarely shouts. It whispers. It guilt trips. It makes you feel obligated. And as long as you keep reacting the same way, the manipulation continues. But when you begin to change, when you say, no, stay silent, walk away, the mask they've placed on you falls apart. Suddenly, they're left facing their own emptiness. And that's terrifying for them. That's when you'll be labeled as cold, distant, or selfish. But it's not that you've changed. It's that you've stopped performing. Jung said, we don't become enlightened by imagining light, but by making the darkness conscious. When you stop feeding other people's shadows, they emerge, and not everyone is ready for that. So I ask again, are you prepared to be misunderstood for choosing your peace? To feel alone, even abandoned, for protecting your own energy? Because within that silence lies transformation. A deeper power awakens, not from being heard, but from no longer needing to explain. In the next part, we'll explore the kind of silence that doesn't distance you from yourself, but finally brings you home.